Modern Warfare 3 early, as well as get a ton of info that is coming with the brand new game. There was an insane amount of movement changes, what I think is probably the biggest thing that people were concerned about.
Hold the fuck up. Hold on, let me get this right real quick. Let me get this right. Okay, face cam looks good. I'm not blocking him. Okay, everyone, before we start the video, shouts out JGOD. Check out his video. All that good stuff.
That just get the game back to its kind of core.
We're taking a look though.
Call of Duty so fluid, popular, and a lot of those things. But that's not all. We got to learn about campaign, zombies in the Modern Warfare universe, which is kind of unique. Tons of multiplayer info that is essentially going to make the game a lot of fun to play, at least in my opinion. And although we didn't talk about Warzone while we were there, it's easy to connect the dots and how the changes they're making to the game.
This is MW2 campaign. Everyone relax.
Before we get too deep, I want to give you a quick thank you for supporting the channel.
Listen, I played Modern Warfare 3 early, and COD might be back. Scrolling through here. Wait, hold on. You're saying that this looks new? No? This is Cold War? Oh, hell no!
Story if you ended up
I didn't play zombies, dude. Don't roast me, dude.
You played through that. It's just going to continue based off of that. Obviously there's been a lot of teasers, trailers.
I am going to listen though, because he said he played it early, so I'm curious to see what he says.
Verdansk POI, specifically Stadium as well as Prison, which are going to be integral to the campaign missions and things like that, among other things. And they went out of their way to talk about how the systems in campaign are going to be slightly different to allow for a little bit more variety and replayability.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a campaign guy.
Now is generally you play it once and then maybe
I like to get in there
on a harder difficulty or realism or something along those lines. They've actually expanded upon the systems within campaign to make it more replayable. And one specific system is the open combat system, which allows you to essentially play it different each time. And we saw specific examples of this where somebody went like a little bit loud and then they ended up getting shot.
Chat, I genuinely got to ask you guys. Do you guys want to replay the campaign? Like, do you guys replay the campaign? I'm just curious. I'm not roasting. I'm not trying to be, you know, mean or whatever. I'm just actually curious. Because I'm not like that at all. I'm seeing a fucking lot of no's.
Shot at because maybe they didn't have the right weapon, they didn't have the right gear, or maybe they, you know, use stealth to move around and get to the objective. And they said for a lot of these specific missions, you can actually 100% stealth them without ever letting the enemies know that you're there, or you can go all out. So you can really have a variety of ways to play certain missions and replay them in a different way. And on top of that, weapons that you loot, you'll be able to save and move on and try those in a later run. So like, let's say later on in a later mission, you get a specific weapon with a suppressor or whatever, you can go back to an older mission and maybe try the mission out with a different weapon type.
What are we talking about here? I mean, you think I'm going to go find a fucking different silence gun and rerun the campaign? I mean, I wouldn't do it in my life. Ever.
And ever go from there, whether it's a knife or whatever. So
I found a silence M4. This mission's gonna be fucking sick. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not for me.
Actually have different playthroughs. I'm not a campaign guy or a lore guy. I think it's cool to play through once. I think that does add a little bit of a layer to it. Hopefully they give rewards the same way that they have for the past couple years, and we get a week early to play it before the multiplayer drops. We can kind of get a feel of it and not feel like I have to choose.
Okay, so campaign's coming out a week early.
So as leads the zombies coming back in the Modern Warfare universe, which is pretty different, but it's going to be built by Treyarch, so it's going to have a lot of the Treyarch lore and systems that you're
that actually gets me kind of hyped, dude.
Perks.
See, I'm not a zombie guy, but I know that Treyarch zombies fucking hit. And now that I'm retired from competing, I might give zombies more of a try, but I never really did, just because obviously when I was competing, competitive took pretty much priority over everything else.
Or other systems with zombies and things like that. But it's kind of a huge shift because it's going to take place on an open world map, which the overhead view of the map, it kind of looked like whatever the next battle royale map's going to be. So it was pretty large in scale. There's going to be 24 players on the map, which they said was essentially 6 teams of 4, and it's all PvE. So even though you may interact with other players, it's going to be a little bit different than DMZ in a sense, because there's not going to be any PvP.
We like that?
There's opportunity to meet up and maybe do some harder content with the people in the lobby or activities. They didn't really specify too much or
fucking what? No, you know it would be fucking dope, dude. You know what I've always wanted them to do with zombies? Dude, make it like Destiny, dude. Make it like fucking Destiny. Like, you get to like round 50 or whatever, and then you fight like a crazy ass boss. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be so cool. And then obviously after that, you could just play rounds however you want, or you could turn off the boss, whatever. But I think that'd be so cool if you had to fight like a big ass zombie dragon or something.
Show any gameplay, so it's a little bit limited on that end. But essentially the gameplay loop is going to be where you load in, similar to Outbreak.
Yeah, maybe I'm just on Mars, dude.
You get your stuff together, you build up perks, and you build up your guns. You can pack a punch, you can buy stuff from the store. You can earn the currency, which is usually called like essence, I believe, and that'll allow you to upgrade your stuff and get better over time. Where it's a little bit different than your standard Outbreak is that you can take the stuff that you get and you can actually exfil at some point in the match, and you can take that stuff with you for a future run. So at the start of the match, you already kind of have the progression you had from previous matches,
so
which sounds similar to DMZ in a way.
Yeah, so they're making zombies like
zombies, extraction, shooter, PvE. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. On paper, it sounds interesting. But it really just comes down to how they're going to scale the difficulty of the enemies and things like that. There'll still be mystery boxes.
I mean, that could be pretty cool.
Buys, all the stuff that you're really familiar with zombies, but the format will be, you know, slightly different. There's still going to be Easter eggs. It sounds like there's economy, so you can actually take stuff out. If you get some schematics, you can build a Juggernog perk so that you can go in with it every single time, so that you get things that kind of persist and allow your character to develop over time, which will reward players that invest the time. The overall match time limit is 1 hour. So it looks like the zone will like close in. Yeah. You've got to exfil before then. So very similar to DMZ in that aspect. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen with DMZ.
An hour.
They didn't mention anything about DMZ and zombies.
I got time for all that.
So I don't know if they're going to like phase one out or whatever, but there are a lot of systems that sound very similar. So as right now, I'm making it up for me. I'm going to call this DM Zombies until I see enough that it tells me it's going to be drastically different and what it actually plays like when it comes launch time.
But why would they time gate it? Because like, don't you guys like I said again, I don't really play zombies. I haven't really ever played zombies like that. But isn't like the whole fun of zombies like, obviously you do the Easter eggs, you do all that good stuff, and then like you want to try to get like the highest round you can. So then you time gate it, and then like the game just ends. I feel like people are gonna fucking hate that. Like, right? People are gonna hate that. I don't know. All right, let's keep listening.
Because there'll be missions and contract, like pretty much DMZ, but with zombies. And
most
like
of us die before that.
Different. So I'm not sure. It is interesting, and we'll have to find out if it's going to be good or not. I have no clue if it is. And that's going to bring us to the main reason probably a lot of you are here is to hear what are some of the differences and what multiplayer is going to offer. Because obviously that's going to carry over in some aspects to how fun the game is going to be. And then also how those things will impact Warzone when we get the brand new map after the year 2 integration or whatever they want to call it. So some of the specific changes that were to how responsive the player feels when they're in control of the character, how fluid movement will feel, and then also the change to 150 health, which will allow it to have a little more normalized TTK across
Boing! 150 health? I'm listening.
Different various weapon types so they can balance those a little bit better. But before we dive into each one of what those means, the content is going to be pretty important. People are like wondering what the heck are we going to play? It's going to launch with 20 maps at the start of the game. 16 of those are literally going to be the exact maps.
Wait, what did you just say?
Warfare 2, 20 maps at the
20 maps at the start of the game. Okay. Again, so we talked about this the other day. We definitely didn't have as many people in the chat as we do today. But I said if they're going to come out with all 16 of the Modern Warfare 2 maps, they need to add other maps. Like, they just need to. So 4, at least it's not 0, but I sincerely hope that they stay on top of map creation and release maps throughout the entirety of the game. It is 0. Oh. Oh my God. What? Is it actually 0 new maps? They're all gunfight maps? I mean, dude, I'm not going to lie. I don't know how to feel about that. Because again, there's two different types of people. There's people that really love the nostalgia of MW2, and there's people that really want to go back to that. And then there's people that want, like me, I want like a mixture of both, because I love MW2. I love the maps. I love the layout. I love all of it. But I also want some new content, so I don't, like, I'm going to get sick of those maps fast. Like, faster, like, the amount of hours that I've personally put on those maps is ungodly already. So when I go back and I start playing those maps again, I'm going to be like, oh, this is dope. I love these maps. And then after like 2 weeks, I'm going to be like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel personally. That's why I need something new just to chop it up. Because like I was telling Zinni the other day, I was like, the release is going to be so fucking hype. It's basically an MW2 remaster with new mechanics, with new guns, all that stuff. But it's going to get old relatively quickly if they don't add new content.
The start of the game. 16 of those are literally going to be the exact maps from Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. So this is going to include all the fan favorites, whether it's Afghan, Estate, Favela, High Rise, Invasion, Rust, Scrapyard, and even Terminal. So the original 16 maps from Modern Warfare 2 are essentially going to be carried over. They're obviously rebuilt from the ground up using the same measurement. So it's going to look much better than it did back in the day with the tiny FOV, because you're going to be able to zoom out a little bit, but it will be to scale of the original one. So that's going to be a lot of fun for people that did play it. You get that nostalgia, but like in the modern game, and then people that never got to experience what good maps were like.
Yeah. That's what could be good. What he just said right there. The people that have not experienced this game at all, they might fucking love this game because they're like, holy shit, I'm playing Terminal? They threw us Boat Cage a few years ago and now I'm on Terminal? This is great.
Have an opportunity to try those maps as well. On top of that, there's going to be 3 ground war style maps, which is the big battle maps with vehicles and stuff like that they've had for quite a while in multiple, iterations of the recent CODs. And then there's also going to be lastly a war game mode, specifically with one of its own maps. And this is a mode they brought back from World War II. I always enjoyed it, specifically for snipers, because you get a little bit more predictable lanes, but we'll see how it plays out. And although there's going to be other new modes that they're always experimenting with, this is going to be the first time you're going to be able to play hardpoint on these old maps.
Yeah.
And hardcore will be there on day one. That's one thing I specifically asked.
How do we think hardpoint's going to play on these maps? I'm actually very curious to see how they're going to play on these maps. Because, we know how, these maps play in the other game modes, like Demolition, CTF, Search and Destroy, all that good stuff, TDM, all that shit. I wonder how they're going to play, A, with the new movement speed and new movement mechanics, and B, with some of the new game modes. I'm curious.
I want to be sure of, because Modern Warfare 2 didn't launch with it, and then we got Tier 1, which is pretty garbage, and then eventually it came back with Hardcore because that's kind of what the players wanted. Guess what? That worked out better. So we'll see kind of how that plays out, but it's good to see that right off the bat, particularly when it comes to camo challenges. Those do make some one-shot, one-kills or headshots or certain bad weapons a little bit easier to grind. There will also be map voting, which obviously there's always certain maps that are going to be
I'm gonna bust. So thank God there's map voting.
More popular.
Holy
but
shit.
It allows the players to give that feedback and specifically choose the maps they want to play while loading into the lobby. On top of that, the mini-map is going to be back to normal. Traditional Call of Duty where you fire an unsuppressed weapon, you pop up on the mini-map. That little interaction will be back to normal. There's also going to be a silent movement perk option, even though the perk system is a little bit different. They have gear and stuff, which we'll get into. There will be an option to essentially make sure your footsteps are quiet, so that you can play like as if you have dead silence, which is something we've been asking for a while.
Wow.
Dead silence is a field upgrade, is still there, so that it's kind of, you get a little bit of overlap depending on how you want to play and what modes you're going to play. There's some new field upgrades, streaks, which they always do that stuff. We're not sure exactly how those will all interact. I think there was one where like if you're more of a solo player, it probably helps you run, you can throw it on the objective, and it'll actually start capturing the objective for you. So if maybe you have teammates that don't want to jump on objectives, you can actually cover more ground.
The fuck did he just say?
Overpowered or underpowered this is, and it'll actually, solo player probably helps you run, you can throw it. There was one where like if you're more of a solo, which is something we've been asking for a while. Dead silence is a field upgrade, is still there, so that it's kind of, you get a little bit of overlap depending on how you want to play and what modes you're going to play. There's some new field upgrades, streaks, which they always do that stuff. We're not sure exactly how those will all interact. I think there was one where like if you're more of a solo player, it probably helps you run, you can throw it on the objective, and it'll actually start capturing the objective for you. So if maybe you have team.
The fuck did he just say? They got something that you can throw on the objective and it plays the obj for you? No, that's getting GA day one.
Teammates that don't want to jump on objectives, you can actually cover more ground, and we'll see how overpowered or underpowered this is, because you can definitely use this to bait an enemy into the objective, and then maybe you shoot them while they're trying to take out this field upgrade. But we'll see how that interacts with it, along with other streaks and like that. But there's also a new system, thing they're called is aftermarket parts, and they said they're working on ones for their guns as well as the Modern Warfare 2 guns. And essentially how this would work is you can modify how a weapon functions. Kind of how the closest thing we have right now is like the X13. I think the Sidewinder blueprint, it has a specific barrel that allows it to turn essentially into an SMG, which is
microtransactions
we're talking about, but I think it'll work a little bit different. And they've also decided to
are those microtransactions? Or can you just get them? No. Okay. It's not bad then.
Evolved the creative class. I think one of the best systems they ever had in Call of Duty is when BO2 introduced the Pick-10 system. And of course, that wouldn't really work in today's day and age because of the way the pros and cons work on attachments. So it looks like they've really gone out of their way to make a modified system in the spirit of Pick-10, but it still allows you to build the weapons you want. And essentially how this works is you have different pieces of gear that will, count as your perk system. So that's boots, gloves, a vest, maybe even helmet or something like that. And then depending on what vest you choose, it might give you access to an additional gear slot where maybe you're able to hang gloves on your vest or wear specific armor or wear a specific headpiece or something like that, that gives you more utility to have an additional perk. But maybe the trade-off is now you can't run a tactical and lethal. Maybe use another vest that gives you ability to run 2 tacticals. Maybe you run another vest that allows you to run a double lethal and a tactical.
See, this whole portion, I actually don't mind this. I don't mind this. I think that this will be done right. I feel like there's no way that they mess this part of it up. It's literally perks, but it's just armor that are perks. So it's like, I feel like, I mean,
so you kind of get that.
But I feel like it's not going to like fuck the game up.
Flavor of the Pick-10 without necessarily having the Pick-10. So I don't know what you would call it, because it's not like a Pick-10, because while all that's going on, you just equip your weapon and you get your 5 attachments, you can tune them. That's not going anywhere. So I think that gives kind of happy medium, so people don't have to sacrifice the viability of their gun to equip perks or have a lethal or tactical. So you kind of get the best of both worlds with still having to make some decisions on how you want to build your class out, because you might want this specific perk, but you also might want a tactical. So you kind of have to pick and choose. So there's trade-offs, which is always good in the creative class. Otherwise, people just dive into one option and that is it, because you don't have to give up anything in the current iteration of Modern Warfare 2.
Dude, I just hope he kind of already said it with all the different, attachments and all that shit. But dude, y'all don't. Dude, if they went back to like even like just BO2, like involving the actual weapon in the Pick 10 system, so you can't fucking sit there and throw on 100 different things on your gun, and you can like use an MSMC with quick draw and long barrel, but to do that takes up 2 slots, and if you want a third one, you have to take another 2 slots to put on a third attachment. It's like, that's what I want them to go back to so bad, but I don't think they're gonna, just because of like microtransactions and like the amount of money they're making off of shit like that. Like if they did go back to that, they'd probably just lose so much money. Like they would lose so much money. But that's what I want for multiplayer, at least. I mean, dude, I would fucking, if they separated multiplayer and Warzone, I would be so happy. But I don't think they will.
Tacticals, you get bolt guns, you can go overkill, all 5. So it kind of allows at least some trade-offs, because then people can choose what they value most. And that all sounds good, but I haven't even gotten to the best part, which is all the movement and responsiveness changes. And I'm sure they're going to even improve some of this stuff beyond what they said, because there was so many changes, and it was almost like there was an audible gasp in the audience of creators that were watching, because it's like they pulled up the list and everyone was like, no, it's too good to be true. Like that's how crazy the changes sound, because it sounds like they've gone against this for so long in terms of the game development, with the exception maybe Treyarch's kind of stuck to giving the players kind of what they want in terms of gameplay loop. So pretty much when they got to the last slide, they said you're going to be able to cancel your slide animation. So how that'll work is very similar to Modern Warfare 2019, but it doesn't lead
slide
to
cancel
resetting your attack sprint. There's a little different mechanics there, I believe. And then there's cancel reload animations, which is a feature they added in Modern Warfare 2, which I don't think was all that popular. It's pretty bad to get stuck in a reload cancel animation. It allows players to mantle faster. And one thing that they've done with this is they've essentially removed the ledge hanging mechanic, so that instead of the game having to choose whether you're going to grab or mantle, you just mantle, and it's an even faster animation. On top of that, you can mantle while sprinting. You can shoot immediately while sliding, like instantaneously. As soon as you hit slide, you'll still be able to hip fire, which is a very cool mechanic. Not saying that it's gonna be a laser dot and you're gonna be accurate. On top of that, you can also aim down sight while sliding with a perk, or a piece of gear in this case. In addition to that, you increase tack sprint duration, which is just a buff to overall movement, in addition to increase tack speed recovery while sprinting. So how quick you can get your tack sprint back is also faster. And that's on top of increasing the strafe speed while in the hip fire and the ADS, so overall movement buffs there. And I know those are a lot of things that basically everyone's been asking for, at least a lot of them. And if you're not one of those people, it's okay. You've been saying it for 3 years, you can adapt. But when it comes to a new feature that they've added, it's called the tactical stance. And this is kind of like a weird halfway stance that allows you to not be fully aimed down sight and not in the hip fire. It's kind of halfway in between, almost kind of like what we had in Vanguard, where you can do like the blind fire, but it's more like you're able to move around in that weird ADS animation, so that you'll be able to maybe utilize that to move faster. Like maybe if you're working a stairway, we have to actually play with that a little bit more to kind of figure out how viable or how broken that's going to be and how useful that's going to be, or if it's more of a gimmick. But I'm liking where all that other stuff is coming from and how that will impact Warzone.
That back part all sounded good. All the movement shit. I mean, it's gonna be fucking like, it's gonna be crazy, but if executed properly, I think that all that movement shit's gonna be dope. Yeah, rip controllers. Yeah, I'm gonna be going through controllers like they're fucking, like they're running out of style, dude. But all that stuff sounds cool. Being able to shoot while sliding, being able to aim in while sliding. He did say that you needed a piece of gear for that. Stalker's coming back, so obviously increased strafe speed there. All that stuff sounds pretty fucking cool.